Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. If you're new here, welcome. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of our deep dives.
That's right.
Today's topic is going to be super interesting and useful. I'm really excited about this one. We're going to be talking about world climates.
It's a big one.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? This deep dive is perfect for anyone who's got the UPSC exams coming up. It's also great if you're a senior school student brushing up on your geography.
Absolutely.
Really, anyone who's just curious about our planet and how these different climates work, you're going to want to stick around.
For sure.
You know, climates, they shape everything, right?
Yeah.
They affect the landscapes, the crops we can grow, where people decide to live, even the types of houses we build.
Even the clothes we wear.
Exactly. So we've got our climate guru here with us today.
Mm.
They've been pouring over a ton of resources, all to bring you the most fascinating insights into this topic. So, you ready to jump in?
Let's do it. I think a great place to start might be with the equatorial climate.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the engine of global weather patterns.
Okay, yeah, that's a good one. It's like the most consistent climate of them all.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're talking about those steamy jungles, the Amazon rainforest, the Congo Basin.
Yeah. Southeast Asia. Think consistent warmth, high humidity, just teeming with life.
It's always hot, always wet.
That's the equatorial climate in a nutshell. And it's all thanks to that consistent sunlight right near the equator that provides all the energy that fuels this incredible abundance of life. And one thing that I find fascinating is the rainfall pattern.
Oh, tell me about that.
So they have two distinct peaks of rainfall every year, usually around March and September. It's driven by the sun being directly overhead.
So picture this. You're in the Amazon, right? The air's thick, you can barely breathe because it's so humid. And then, like clockwork, every single afternoon, boom, you've got a thunderstorm.
That's the equatorial climate.
Sounds intense. But it's not all paradise, is it?
No, not exactly. Think about it. Dense vegetation, that makes sustainably extracting timber incredibly difficult.
Right, right.
And then there's the disease risk. All that heat and humidity, it's a breeding ground for diseases.
Okay, so not exactly a beach vacation then.
No.
But it's essential for those unique ecosystems.
Oh, absolutely.
And those valuable crops, right? I mean, rubber, cocoa, they all thrive in that kind of environment.
That's right.
Okay, so that's the equatorial climate. But what about something a little bit more dramatic?
Okay, well, how about the tropical monsoon climate? That's all about dramatic shifts.
Ooh, okay, I'm intrigued.
So picture this. Scorching dry winters, and then bam, you're hit with these absolutely drenching summers. We're talking South and Southeast Asia here, especially India.
Oh, wow. So it's like a climate of two extremes.
Exactly. And that rhythm, that back and forth, it dictates everything, especially when we think about agriculture.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, how do you even farm when you have those kinds of swings?
Well, subsistence farming is really common in these regions. Rice, sugar, jute, all of those crops depend heavily on when those monsoon rains hit and how strong they are. It's a constant dance between drought and flood.
You got to be adaptable, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And it's incredible how people have figured out how to live in these regions, right? I mean, the architecture designed to withstand both the heat and the heavy rain.
Right.
And those ancient water harvesting techniques.
Yeah. Amazing, isn't it?
Talk about human ingenuity. It's fascinating. Okay, so we've talked about hot and humid. We've talked about hot and wet. What about dry?
All right, let's journey to a place that really challenges the idea of where life can exist.
Oh,
the desert.
The desert. I think about endless sand dunes, scorching sun, camels. It just seems like nothing could survive in that kind of environment.
It is harsh, less than 25 centimeters of rainfall per year. That's what defines a desert. But here's the thing. Deserts aren't always about that scorching heat.
What do you mean?
Well, we have cold deserts too, like the Atacama Desert in South America. Temperatures there can drop below freezing.
Wait, so you're telling me there are hot deserts and cold deserts?
That's right. But they both share that defining feature, that lack of rainfall. And that shapes everything about those environments, from the plants and animals that have adapted to survive to the ways humans have learned to conserve water.
That lack of water really is the defining factor, isn't it?
It is.
So I'm guessing our listeners might be wondering where the driest place on Earth is.
It's the Atacama Desert. Some weather stations there have never recorded a single drop of rain.
Wow, that's incredible. So what else might surprise our listeners about deserts? I mean, they're not just empty wastelands, right?
Definitely not. Deserts are actually incredibly diverse ecosystems. The plants and animals that live there, they've evolved some incredible ways to survive those extremes. Think cacti with their water-storing stems and those shallow root systems designed to grab every drop of rain.
They're like the ultimate survivors.
They are.
But deserts aren't just about resilience, right? They also hold hidden treasures.
That's right. Many deserts are rich in mineral resources. Think about the Australian gold mines, the diamond fields in the Kalahari, even copper in the Atacama. These resources play a huge role in the global economy.
So deserts, extreme, adaptable, and valuable. I love it. Okay, so we've covered the extremes of dry climates. But what about those vast grasslands, the ones you see in documentaries with acacia trees and zebras and giraffes?
Yeah.
We're talking savannas now, right?
Exactly. Savannas are another type of dry climate. But unlike those stark deserts, they've got those wide open grasslands with scattered trees. You'll find them in regions that have a wet and dry season, which creates this really dynamic environment.
It's like a perfect mix of grassland and woodland.
It is, and you know what plays a crucial role in maintaining that balance?
What's that?
Fire.
Fire.
Yep. Natural fires, often caused by lightning, they sweep through savannas, burning off the old growth and allowing new grasses to thrive. And those new grasses, that's food for those amazing herds of grazing animals.
So it's like a cycle of renewal shaped by the climate and those dramatic fires. Pretty cool. Okay, I think it's time to shift gears a bit.
Okay.
Let's head north or south, depending on where you are in the world,
All right.
and explore those cooler, temperate climates. You know, the ones that bring to mind snow-capped mountains, evergreen forests, maybe even the northern lights.
Sounds good. We'll explore the marine West Coast climate, the humid continental climate, and the subarctic climate.
I'm already feeling a bit chilly.
Get ready for some fascinating adaptations to those cooler conditions. Welcome back to our deep dive into world climates.
So we left off heading north into those cooler, temperate climates, you know, where things start to get a bit more, well, brisk.
Right. And we're about to explore a climate where the ocean really takes center stage, the marine West Coast climate.
Okay, marine West Coast. When I hear that, I'm thinking, like, misty coastlines, those lush, evergreen forests, maybe even a fjord or two.
You're pretty spot on. We're talking about regions like the Pacific Northwest of North America, parts of Europe, New Zealand, all heavily influenced by those westerly winds blowing in from the ocean.
Bringing all that moisture, right?
Exactly. And that moisture, it helps to moderate the temperatures, too.
So no scorching summers and freezing winters.
Nope, not here. The ocean acts like a giant temperature regulator, absorbs heat in the summer, releases it slowly in the winter. So you end up with mild winters, cool summers, and rainfall pretty much year-round.
It's all about that ocean influence.
Yeah.
And all that rain, that's what fuels those amazing evergreen forests, right? I mean, we're talking towering Douglas firs, redwoods, cedars. It's like walking into a cathedral.
You got it. And those forests, they're not just beautiful, they're ecologically and economically super important. Habitat for all sorts of species, they play a huge role in absorbing carbon dioxide, and of course there's the timber industry.
Right, right. It's incredible how those trees can handle all that moisture and still grow to be so massive. It's like they've evolved to thrive in that damp environment.
They have. They're perfectly adapted to the marine West Coast climate. All right, let's shift gears a bit. Let's move inland, away from the coast,
Okay, further inland.
to a climate that has a bit more of a dramatic seasonal swing, the humid continental climate.
Humid continental. So I'm guessing this is where we find those classic four seasons in all their glory.
You guessed it. We're talking warm, humid summers, cold, snowy winters. Think about the eastern United States, parts of Canada, Europe, and Asia.
Oh yeah, those picture-perfect landscapes. You know, green forests in the summer, the leaves changing color in the fall, a blanket of snow in the winter, and then everything coming back to life in the spring.
It's a cycle that's inspired artists and poets for centuries.
It really has. And that cycle, those distinct seasons, they really shape the agriculture in these regions too, right?
Absolutely. Think corn, wheat, soybeans. All those crops thrive in those warm summers with plenty of rainfall. They're staples in so many parts of the world.
And those forests, those deciduous forests with trees that lose their leaves every fall. That's humid continental too, right?
It is. It's like nature's putting on a show before winter sets in.
A reminder that even as things get colder and the days get shorter, there's beauty and resilience in those natural cycles.
Well said. Okay, so we're going to keep heading north or south, depending on where you are in the world.
Okay.
And we're going to enter a climate zone that's kind of like the bridge between the temperate and the really, really cold, the subarctic climate.
Subarctic. Okay, now we're talking about those regions where winter really takes hold. I'm picturing those vast, snow-covered forests, long nights, maybe even a glimpse of the northern lights.
You're getting the picture. Long, harsh winters, short, cool summers. That's the subarctic in a nutshell. It's also known as the boreal climate, or the taiga.
It sounds pretty intense. But life finds a way, right? I mean, even in those extreme conditions.
It does. And the big example of that is those coniferous forests. You know, those evergreen trees like spruce, fir, and pine.
Hmm.
They dominate this landscape.
Those are some tough trees.
They are. They've evolved to handle those long winters. Their needles, they reduce water loss, and their shape, that conical shape, helps them shed snow easily.
It's like they've turned those harsh conditions into an advantage. That's amazing.
And those boreal forests, they're not just pretty to look at, they're actually vital to the global ecosystem. They store massive amounts of carbon, which helps regulate the Earth's climate.
They're like a giant carbon sink.
Exactly. And they're home to a surprising amount of wildlife, too. Moose, wolves, lynx, all sorts of birds. It's a pretty incredible ecosystem.
It sounds like it. Now, I'm curious, as we get closer to those polar regions, how do those forests transition into those icy landscapes we associate with the Arctic and Antarctica? Is it a gradual shift, or is there a clear dividing line?
That's a great question. And it leads us to the tundra, which is the transition zone between the forested subarctic and those permanently frozen polar regions. It's a landscape that's pretty unique, with long, dark winters, short, cool summers, and one very noticeable feature: no trees.
No trees.
Hmm?
Okay, so we're talking about those wide open spaces with low-lying vegetation, maybe a polar bear or two wandering around.
Exactly. The tundra is a climate of extremes. Temperatures can swing wildly throughout the year, but even here, life finds a way. Those hardy plants and animals have adapted to these incredibly challenging conditions.
It's amazing how life persists, even in those seemingly barren landscapes.
It is, and as we explore the tundra more, we'll uncover some truly remarkable adaptations and the surprising diversity of this often overlooked climate zone.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
We're about to head into the most extreme climate zones on Earth, the polar regions.
Okay, so we've explored those lush rainforests, we've seen those vast grasslands, those temperate forests.
Right.
Now we're going to the ends of the earth, where ice and snow are king.
That's right. We're talking about those iconic landscapes: glaciers, ice sheets, penguins huddled together against the wind.
Pretty amazing to think about.
It is. And the polar regions are all about that extreme cold. Temperatures rarely rise above freezing, even in the summer.
Wow. So winter lasts for most of the year. Long periods of darkness, incredibly harsh conditions.
Exactly. And that creates some serious challenges for anything trying to survive there. Only the toughest can make it.
But even within those polar regions, there are different climate zones, right? I mean, we've got the tundra, which we talked about a bit earlier, and then those even more extreme ice cap climates.
You're right. The tundra is kind of like a transition zone between the forested subarctic and those permanently frozen ice caps.
It's okay.
Long, dark winters, short, cool summers, and no trees.
No trees at all.
Nope. Just those hardy, low-lying plants. They hug the ground for warmth and protection.
So instead of those towering forests, we've got mosses, lichens, maybe some shrubs.
Exactly. And you might even see some wildflowers during that short burst of summer. It's pretty amazing.
It's like this hidden world of color, just waiting for that brief moment of warmth.
It is. And those tundra plants have some really cool adaptations to survive the winter. A lot of them grow in these dense mats to conserve heat and moisture.
So they're basically creating their own little microclimates, huddling together to stay warm.
Pretty much. And their root systems are shallow and spread out, so they can quickly absorb nutrients from that thin layer of soil that thaws during the summer.
They've really adapted to make the most of that short growing season.
That's right. Now, the tundra might seem pretty harsh to us,
Yeah.
but it actually supports a surprising amount of animal life.
Oh, right. I always think of those pictures of polar bears roaming around.
Right.
But there's more than just polar bears, right?
Oh, yeah, way more. Caribou, Arctic foxes, even tiny lemmings that tunnel under the snow.
It's like a hidden world of resilience, all playing out against this backdrop of ice and snow.
It is. Okay, let's take it a step further. Let's go from the tundra to the ice cap climates.
Okay, so if the tundra is the transition zone, the ice cap is like the heart of those frozen realms.
Exactly. Think Antarctica, Greenland. Those are the places where it rarely gets above freezing, even in the summer. Vast ice sheets, glaciers, icebergs.
Those landscapes are both beautiful and terrifying, aren't they?
They are. It's the most extreme climate on Earth, and only the most specialized organisms can survive there.
I'm imagining like microscopic algae that live in the ice, or those bacteria that thrive in extreme conditions.
You got it. We call them extremophiles. They've evolved to handle conditions that would be lethal to pretty much anything else.
It's wild to think about those tiny ecosystems
Mhm.
hidden within those massive ice sheets. It's like a whole other world.
It is. And as we've journeyed from those tropical rainforests to these polar ice caps, we've seen just how adaptable life can be.
It's incredible. I mean, from steamy jungles to frozen wastelands, life finds a way.
It does. And it shows us how important it is to understand these different climate zones, how they all fit together to create this global system that we all depend on.
It's like a giant interconnected puzzle.
Yes.
Each piece is crucial.
Exactly. But we have to remember these systems are facing some serious challenges right now.
Yeah, climate change is impacting everything.
It is. Melting glaciers, shrinking ice caps, rising sea levels, and it's all connected to those intricate climate systems we've been talking about.
It makes you realize just how important it is to understand how these systems work and how we can protect them.
Absolutely. The more we learn about our planet's climate, the better equipped we'll be to face those challenges and preserve those incredible ecosystems that make our world so unique.
Well, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into world climates.
We hope you enjoyed the journey.
We've covered a lot of ground, from the equator to the poles, and hopefully we've sparked your curiosity to learn even more.
Keep exploring, keep learning, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.